Alpha King Maddox Vale let them seal Saren Pike inside the moon-weighing room because his warriors feared one sound more than battle horns: the weight of their own armor being named. They had forced her back inside the inner scale at moonset, before the eastern plates could be blessed, before the war straps could be tied over royal shoulders, before 3 border packs marched into frost-dark valleys under men who wore command marks bright enough to blind a court. Saren stood just inside the pale arch, with silver dust on her fingers and a split at the corner of her mouth. Close enough for every warrior to see her, far enough for the iron bar to make her a prisoner. Armor Captain Joran Rusk held up her weighing ledger as if it were a blade taken from an assassin. She wrote numbers beside honored names, Joran said. Around them, the war armor vault glowed with breastplates, clawed gauntlets, and command collars laid beneath hanging moon lamps. Every plate had been polished until it could catch a man's pride and give it back larger. Warriors filled the long stone chamber shoulder to shoulder, their wolves restless beneath their skins, insulted by delay. Saren looked at the armor before she looked at the men wearing it. The eastern command plates rested on the black stone table, each marked with rank silver and moon-cut notches. They should have been light enough for the true wearer to lift with one hand. Armor remembered service. Armor accepted the body that had earned it. One breastplate, third from the left, had sunk half an inch into the stone. No one else had noticed. Maddox Vale stood beneath the royal wolf crest in black war leather, his crown worked from dark silver and bone. Yet his eyes moved once, not to Joran's raised ledger, but to the plate Saren had been staring at. Then back to her. "Speak," Maddox ordered. Joran turned sharply. "Majesty, there is nothing to hear." The girl weighed decorated armor and marked honorable men as if they were sacks of grain. She delayed fittings, questioned rank notches, refused to bless plates already approved by command. "I do not bless armor," Saren said. "I weigh it," a few warriors muttered. Joran smiled. His own armor remained on a stand behind him, untouched by the weighing chain. No reverence, only weight, as though valor can be counted by a servant with moon chalk under her nails. I did not count valor. I recorded what the room gave back. The room gives back what a bitter hand asks of it. A few warriors laughed. Enough for Saren to feel the old wound open. Years of men calling accuracy disrespect because truth had not bowed before their stories. She had not expected kindness from the warriors, but she had expected the Alpha King to fear false command more than wounded pride. Maddox descended from the crest dais. Wolves inside men went quiet. "Saren Pike?" he said. "Did you mark a royal command plate as unfit for dawn march?" "I marked 3 as unbalanced." "Unbalanced," Joran repeated. "Men bleed at the border while she insults steel. Steel does not get insulted." His smile thinned. Outside the vault, the dawn horns had already begun their first warning. If the eastern armor did not leave before the final dawn horn, 3 border packs would march without command plates. Maddox knew it. Saren knew he knew it. Joran lowered his voice. "Majesty, the eastern packs cannot wait on superstition. Seal the weighing room. Send the armor. Punish the girl after victory." The moon weighing room enclosed Saren behind its pale arch. Inside hung the moon scale, 2 silver chains suspended over a black weighing stone. It had always smelled of cold metal and rain before it spoke. Tonight the smell was sharp enough that Saren could taste storm. The left chain moved, only a finger's breadth. Joran saw her react, not the chain. His hand snapped through the arch and seized her wrist. "No more tricks." Maddox's voice cut through the vault. "Release her." The captain obeyed, slowly. That was the first protection Maddox gave her, and it was not enough to save her. Saren knew the difference. A man could stop a hand and still permit a burial. Joran opened the ledger. She wrote beside Captain Val's armor, too heavy for listed rank. Beside Marshal Othrix, weight exceeds earned command. Beside my Eastern officers, hold for witness. I asked for battlefield witnesses, Saren said. You demanded dead men rise and approve their betters. The room tightened around that word. Dead. Maddox's gaze went again to the breastplate, sinking into stone. For one breath, Saren thought he would ask the right question. Instead, he said, The army marches at dawn. Joran bowed his head, hiding triumph poorly. Then the room must be closed. The moon chain trembled again. A single silver note rang out, like a blade touching bone. Every warrior heard it. Saren closed her hand around the strip of moon paper hidden inside her sleeve. 3 numbers were written there. 3 weights the ledger no longer showed because someone had scraped the page thin in the night. What are you holding? Maddox asked. Joran moved first. Forgery. Insurance, Saren said. For one instant, Joran's mouth went bloodless. Maddox saw it too. Give it to me, Joran said. No. You stand under war law. I stand under weight law. There is no weight law above command. Saren looked from the arch to the eastern plates. Then command should not be afraid of being weighed. Somewhere among the plates, one buckle snapped without being touched. Joran's softness returned, colder than shouting. After dawn, Joran said. No one will ask what one weighing girl wrote before war. Maddox turned toward him. That should have been enough. But the horns outside sounded again, longer this time, and duty moved over his face like a locked gate. For the first time, Maddox looked less like a king choosing order than a man choosing which truth he could afford to betray. Seal the room, Maddox said. The order struck Saren harder than Joran's grip had. 2 guards crossed to the outer posts of the arch. One reached for the outer witness chain beside the arch. The other brought the black iron bar used only when a weighing witness had committed treason. She did not beg. Begging gave men like Joran a cleaner story. Instead, she pressed the hidden moon paper against her left palm until the ink smudged into her skin. Maddox watched the motion. Joran watched Maddox, watching. The iron bar slid across the arch. The moon weighing room answered. Not with thunder. Not with light. With weight. Every command plate on the eastern table dropped at once. Stone cracked beneath them. Warriors staggered as the armor they already wore dragged downward, knees striking the vault floor one after another in brutal, ringing succession. Pride went down first, then breath, then hands, clawing at straps that had become impossible to lift. Joran did not fall. His armor was still on the stand. Saren turned slowly toward him as the vault filled with the sound of men trapped beneath the honors they had claimed. Maddox's face had gone pale beneath the crown. Saren opened her ink-stained hand. Now, she said, ask the question I wrote before they sealed me in. The moon chain rang once above her head. Maddox looked from the fallen warriors to Joran's untouched armor. Saren's voice did not shake. Who wore honors that belonged to dead men? The first fallen command plate tore itself free from the black stone table. It did not fly. It dragged inch by inch, shrieking across the vault as if invisible claws had hooked beneath its silver edges. Warriors still pinned under their own armor twisted their heads toward it. One man tried to crawl away and failed, his breastplate flattening him harder to the floor with a brutal ring. The command plate reached the pale arch of the moon weighing room and lifted. For one breath, no one moved. Then it dropped onto the moon scale. The silver chains snapped taut above Saren's head. The black weighing stone cracked open with a sound like ice splitting over deep water, and cold rain scent flooded the vault. Moonlight gathered in the plate's rank notches. Not bright, not beautiful, but hard and white as exposed bone. Letters burned through the polished silver. Not Joran's script. Not court script. Older. Luthen Mar, Eastern Border Guard, died holding Fen Hollow Breach. A warrior near the table whispered, Mar had no command rank. No, Saren said. He had the weight for one. Joran moved so quickly his cloak snapped behind him. Do not listen to her. That name is dead record. The room is spitting old grief because she fed it dead ink. Saren did not look away from the plate. Dead ink does not make armor kneel. Two warriors strained against their straps, faces red, teeth bared. Their wolves pressed beneath their skin, furious and trapped. One tried to tear open his own shoulder guard and howled when the metal refused his claws. Maddox lifted one hand. The vault obeyed before he spoke. Even pain quieted around him. Open the room, he said. Joran turned. Majesty, open it. The guard holding the black iron bar hesitated only once. Then he pulled it free. The bar came away with a long, low groan, and the pale arch breathed out cold enough to turn every mouth's breath white. Saren did not step out. That small refusal changed Maddox's expression more than any plea could have. He had opened the room, but she did not rush into his mercy. She remained under the chains, ink drying black across her palm, the split at her lip darkened by old blood. She looked less like a prisoner freed than a witness deciding whether the court had earned the right to hear her. Maddox lowered his voice. Saren Pike, what is the name on the plate? You can read it. I want the vault to hear you say it. Her eyes moved to him then. Suspicion first, not gratitude. Maddox accepted it without flinching. Luthenmar, she said. Eastern Border Guard. No living rank. No surviving claimants in the command hall. His last recorded duty was Fen Hollow Breach. A younger warrior trapped near the eastern rack went still. My uncle died at Fen Hollow. Joran snapped. Silence. Maddox's gaze cut toward him. You do not command silence here. The words landed like a blade between them. Joran bowed, but his right hand moved to the ledger. Saren saw his thumb slide beneath the page where her numbers had once been scraped thin. He was not reaching to read. He was reaching to tear. She stepped forward beneath the chains. If that page leaves his hand, the room will not lighten a single plate. Every trapped warrior turned on Joran. He froze. Saren felt Maddox watching her, sharp and unsettled. It was not softness. It was recognition. And recognition asked what else he had failed to see. Explain, Maddox said. Joran's voice hardened. The girl has built a theater of numbers. She claims armor remembers honor, but armor is fitted by command, not ghosts. These men earned their places through campaign appointment. A dead guard's name appearing on old silver proves only that grief clings to war metal. Campaign appointment does not change weight, Saren said. It changes authority. No, it changes who profits from it. A murmur moved through the vault. Low and dangerous. Maddox turned to her fully. What did you find? Saren opened her stained palm. The moon paper clung to her skin in torn fibers. 3 weights. 3 missing lines. She held it up so the room could see the numbers, but not close enough for Joran to seize. I weighed 3 Eastern command plates last night. Each plate carried more honor weight than its listed wearer had earned. At first, I thought the records were incomplete. Her gaze went to the plate on the scale. Then I checked the battlefield witness margins. Joran laughed once, too fast. Margins. She would stop a war for margins. His fear tell had always been there. Not in his eyes. In the way he hated small spaces where truth could hide. Margins. Seams. Underplates. Weight marks. Saren said. The names were scraped out. Maddox's jaw tightened. Whose names? Dead border men. Guards without families, powerful enough to object. Men who held breaches, supply gates, retreat paths. Their honors were lifted from burial rolls and sewn into living command plates. A heavy silence followed, but Saren did not let it stretch into theater. She pointed to the eastern table. That plate did not belong to Captain Vol. It carried Luthenmar's breach weight. The second carried Orrin Pike's rear guard stand at Frostmere. Her throat tightened once around the name, and she forced it flat. Maddox looked at her then, as if a second blow had struck him. "Pike, my father," Saren said. No one laughed. Joran's face sharpened with opportunity. "There it is. Blood grievance. She accuses living commanders, because her father died without rank." "My father died with rank," Saren said. Someone else walked away wearing it. Joran took one step toward the arch. "Majesty, this is exactly why grief cannot weigh war." Maddox moved before Saren could. He did not draw a blade. He did not touch Joran. He simply stepped between the captain and the pale arch, and the vault felt the old animal inside the king wake behind his skin. "No one approaches her," Maddox said. It was not tenderness. It was command correcting its own wound too late. The words should not have warmed anything in Saren. They did anyway, and she hated that her body noticed safety before her pride could forbid it. Joran stopped. "You would hold the army for a servant's accusation? I would hold the army before I send false command into a border war." The trapped warriors heard it. So did the captains who were still standing because their armor had not dragged them down. Several looked toward the eastern plates with new fear. Maddox turned to the nearest record clerk, a thin man half hidden behind a rack of gauntlets. "Send riders to the battlefield witness quarters. Fen Hollow, Frostmere. Anyone who signed burial weight, anyone who sealed retreat honor, anyone who carried dead armor back through the gate. Bring them here before the final dawn horn." The clerk ran. Joran's nostrils flared. "There is no time." "Then you should have told the truth faster." For the first time, Joran looked at Maddox as an enemy. Saren saw it and understood the next danger before the men did. Joran did not need to prove innocence. He only needed chaos. A delayed army could be blamed on Saren. A border loss could bury every question beneath fresh dead. She stepped out from beneath the moon chains at last. Every eye followed her. "The room can release honest armor now," she said. "Not all of it. Only what the burial margins do not contest. Enough for the true ranked men to march." A trapped captain gasped. "Then do it." "No." His face twisted. "You would leave us pinned? I will not lighten stolen command." Joran seized the opening. "You hear her? She holds the army hostage." Saren turned slowly, and the cold scent of rain sharpened around her. "No, I hold the weight where it belongs." Maddox studied her for a long second. His expression carried anger, but not all of it was for her. Some of it had turned inward, where kings hid the wounds pride could not survive. "What condition?" he asked. "Call the witnesses," she said. "Read the burial margins aloud. Then put each command plate on the scale beside the man who claims it." Joran's smile returned, thin as wire. "A childish ritual." His hand drifted toward the emergency war bell, the one that could release the army under crisis law before any witness arrived. Saren saw the movement. So did Maddox. The Alpha King stepped once, and the bell rope died beneath the shadow of his hand before Joran could pull it. Saren looked at Joran's untouched armor stand. "Start with yours." The vault seemed to inhale. Maddox turned. Joran's armor waited behind him, black and silver, the captain's moon rank shining across the breast like a frozen crown. Its straps hung loose. Its plates had not moved when the others fell. That made it look innocent to fools. Saren had learned long ago that some lies did not grow heavy until worn. Maddox's voice dropped. "Captain Rusk." Joran did not bow this time. "Put on your armor," the Alpha King said, "and step onto the scale." A flush crept up Joran's throat. "Majesty, my command is not under review." Saren met his eyes across the vault. The left moon chain began to ring. Maddox did not look away from his captain. "It is now." Joran's right gauntlet struck the floor before any hand touched it. The sound cracked through the war armor vault like a bone breaking under ice. Men pinned beneath their own plates flinched. The gauntlet rolled once, stopped with its clawed fingers pointed toward armor Captain Joran Rusk, then scraped backward across the stone, as if pulled by an invisible leash. Joran did not move. His mouth had gone flat. His eyes measured the distance between himself, the emergency war bell, Maddox's hand on the rope, and the pale arch where Saren stood with ink still dark across her palm. "Someone is moving it," Joran said. No one answered. The second gauntlet dropped from the armor stand. Then the breastplate. Then the black shoulder guards with their silver command notches. Piece by piece, Joran's armor left the stand and crossed the vault toward him. It did not rush. That was worse. It moved with the patient certainty of a law that had waited years and had no need to hurry. Joran stepped back once. The breastplate rose. Leather straps snapped open like hungry mouths. The front plate struck his chest and locked there with a clean, final click. The shoulder guards climbed into place. The gauntlets sealed over his hands. The command collar closed around his throat last, not choking him, only naming him. Warriors stared. Joran lifted both arms. He smiled. The armor moved easily. The room had not judged him yet. It had only dressed the claim. A hard breath went through the vault. Half relief, half triumph from the men who wanted the old order, returned before they had to understand what had happened beneath it. Joran turned slowly so they could see him. Black and silver caught the moon lamps. His rank shone bright. His back stayed straight. His knees did not bend. "Well," he said softly, "there is your witness." Saren felt the blow land through the room before it reached her heart. One trapped captain laughed once, breathless with hope. Another muttered, "The girl was wrong." A third began clawing harder at his own straps, as if Joran's standing had made his own stolen weight lighter by example. Maddox did not release the bell rope. His gaze remained on Joran's feet. Saren noticed that. His feet, not his face, not his lifted arms, not the shining breastplate. Joran's boots had not sunk, but the frost around them had changed. A thin ring of moon white had formed where his shadow touched the floor. The armor was not innocent. It was waiting. Joran spread his gauntleted hands. "Majesty, I submit myself to the girl's superstition and remain standing. Now release the army. Every heartbeat spent here buys blood at the eastern border." He chose the word blood carefully. Saren heard the vault shift toward him. This was his true skill. Not stealing, not forging, taking fear and giving it a direction. If the army delayed, blame Saren. If the border broke, blame Saren. If false commanders marched and men died under bad orders, call it sacrifice and bury the margins with the bodies. She stepped toward the black stone table. Joran's smile sharpened. "Where are you going?" "To finish the weighing. You already failed." "No." Saren kept walking. "You dressed." The smallest change passed over Maddox's mouth. Not a smile. Something colder and more dangerous. Attention. Saren stopped beside the first fallen command plate on the moon scale. Luthen Mar's name still burned through the silver. She set her ink-stained palm near the letters, not touching them. "The room does not punish metal for being worn," she said. "It weighs claim against witness." Joran lifted his chin. "Then weigh mine. I need the margin." His eyes flicked once. There. So small most men would have missed it. He looked not at the ledger in his hand, but at the inner seam of his own breastplate. Saren had spent years being ignored by powerful men. It had taught her where to look when they lied. "Inside left," she said. Joran's face hardened. "What?" The burial margin was not only scraped from the ledger. A command plate carries a copy under the left inner seam. The old armorers put it there so no officer could outrank the dead without leaving a second scar. The vault changed. Not loudly. Not with gasps. With breath held by men who suddenly remembered wearing metal they had never examined. Maddox turned to the standing guards. "Open his left seam." Joran stepped back. No, the word was too quick. Maddox's voice lowered. "Captain, this is battlefield armor. A left seam cannot be opened after fitting without damaging the command lock." Saren looked at the black plate across his chest. "Only if the command is false." Joran's gauntleted hand flashed toward her. Maddox caught his wrist. The contact should have ended there. A king stopping a captain. A correction, nothing more. But the moment Maddox touched Joran's armor, his own body jerked as if pain had bitten through his palm. A low growl dragged from somewhere behind his ribs. Not fully human, not fully wolf. Saren saw it. So did Joran. For one heartbeat. The captain smiled. "You feel it too, Majesty." Joran whispered. Maddox did not let go, but his knuckles whitened around the gauntlet. Beneath his crown, the veins at his temples stood out like black thread. Saren understood before anyone said it. False command did not only weigh on the men who wore it. It pulled through the hand that had approved it. Maddox had signed something. The realization moved through him like a blade turning inward. "Open the seam," he said. The nearest guard obeyed with shaking fingers. He found the hidden clasp under Joran's left arm and pulled. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the inner plate split from the breast with a wet metallic sound, as if the armor had been holding old rain beneath its skin. A strip of darkened moon silver fell to the floor. Joran Lunachet. Saren was faster. She dropped to one knee, caught the strip before his boot could crush it, and the cold of it burned so deep into her fingers that she nearly cried out. Letters crawled beneath the tarnish. Not court script. Burial script. Maddox released Joran and turned toward her, one hand still flexing from the pain. "Read it," he said. Joran's voice cracked. "That record is sealed under war necessity." Saren looked up. War necessity does not erase burial law. She held the strip to the moonlight. The name appeared slowly, as if dragged from underwater. Orrin Pike. Rear guard weight transferred under emergency command authority. Her father's name did not break her. The words after it nearly did. Transfer authorized by royal seal. The vault seemed to tilt. Joran seized the silence. "There. A lawful transfer. The king's seal. Your own proof condemns you, girl." He turned toward the trapped warriors. "If this is theft, then your Alpha King signed the thief's hand." Men looked to Maddox. Saren did too. Maddox stood very still. The bell rope hung forgotten beside his hand. His face had gone colder than anger, colder than shame. It was the look of a man realizing the wound in his kingdom bore the shape of his own signature, not because he remembered approving Orrin Pike's theft, because he did not remember seeing the objection at all. Joran's armor remained light, but the moon chain did not fall silent. Then Saren turned the strip over. A second line emerged on the underside. Smaller, hidden beneath the fold where only a weighing hand would look. Witness objection unresolved. Breach command unfit until margin hearing. Saren rose slowly. "This transfer was not complete," she said. Joran's smile vanished. The moon chain began to ring above her, low and steady. "The witness objected before the seal was used," Saren said. "Someone sent the command anyway." Joran's breastplate gave a quiet groan. Not heavy yet. Not enough. The room was waiting for the name to be spoken by the authority that had ignored it. Saren looked at Maddox. "If you signed this," she said, and every word cost her something, "then read the objection aloud." Maddox did not move. Joran whispered, "Majesty, do not." Saren held out the burial margin with burned fingers and did not lower her eyes. "Read what my father's armor tried to tell you before men died under stolen command." Outside the vault, the second dawn horn sounded, and Maddox reached for the strip. Maddox's fingers closed around the burial strip, and the royal seal burned through his palm before he could read a word aloud. The scent hit the vault first. Not blood. Not smoke. Hot silver under rain. Maddox's hand tightened, but he did not drop the strip. The mark of his crown flared across his skin, answering the same seal pressed into the old transfer line. Around him, The warriors, trapped under stolen weight, went still. Even the ones who hated Saren understood that a royal seal did not burn its king for nothing. Yoren saw it too. "Majesty," he said, low and urgent, "that record is corrupted. If you read from damaged burial silver, every command ruling you have signed in war can be challenged by grief." Saren stepped closer to the moon scale. "Only the challenged ones." Joran's eyes cut toward her. "You would fracture the army before dawn to settle a daughter's wound. My wound did not forge the fold." Maddox looked down. Saren pointed to the underside of the strip, where the second line had risen beneath the hidden crease. There. The objection was folded under before the royal seal was pressed. The top line showed emergency transfer. The bottom line carried the witness objection. Someone made sure the king saw one and sealed both. Maddox did not look relieved. That mattered. A lesser man would have seized the excuse and hidden behind it. Maddox only stared at the crease, as if it had opened under his own throne. "I signed a packet before the Frostmere March," he said. The vault tightened. Joran's mouth softened with victory. Maddox continued, colder. "I signed it under emergency authority after Captain Rusk reported a collapsed command chain." Saren's fingers closed once at her side. She did not let herself step back. "Did you read the burial margins?" The question struck harder than accusation. Maddox looked at her. No. There it was. Not innocence. Not conspiracy. Something more ordinary and more dangerous. Power moving too quickly over the dead because war had made speed feel like virtue. Saren's throat burned. "Then you did not only trust him. You trusted the blank space, where my father objected." The royal wolf under Maddox's skin stirred. His shadow deepened against the stone. Long-clawed, restless, but he held it still. "Yes," he said. No apology followed. Good. Saren did not want a word soft enough to rot before sunrise. She held the strip higher. "Read it." Joran stepped forward. His armor gave a faint metallic sigh, not heavy yet, but listening. "Majesty, if you read that objection aloud, you admit delay liability before the entire Eastern Command. Under crisis law, any delay that weakens border response can be named treason to war." Maddox's eyes did not leave the strip. By whom? By surviving officers, by allied pacts, by every widow made after this dawn if the border breaks, while we weigh ghosts. He had turned the knife well. Saren felt it. So did the trapped warriors. Fear moved again, looking for a safer story. Joran raised his voice. "Choose carefully, Majesty. If you read, you do not merely accuse me. You accuse your own seal. You accuse the throne before battle." Saren looked at Maddox then, and for one breath the vault narrowed to the space between them. "This is the choice you tried not to make in part 1, she said quietly. "The dignity of the throne, or the truth of the men buried under it." Something in Maddox's face changed. Not softness, decision. He turned toward the moon scale. "Record clerk," he said. The thin clerk, who had not yet returned with witnesses, stumbled from beside the gauntlet rack. "Majesty, you will write every word I read." Joran's armor groaned again. Maddox lifted the strip into the hard white light. "Oren Pike," he read. Saren did not move. "Rear guard weight transferred under emergency command authority." The seal burned brighter in his palm. Flesh darkened around the crown mark, but Maddox's voice stayed level. "Witness objection unresolved." The moon chain snapped downward. Yoren hit one knee. The impact rang through the vault. His smile vanished. Both gauntlets struck stone, fingers spread, as if his own armor had decided the floor was the only honest place left for him. Warriors gasped, but Maddox kept reading. "Breach command unfit until margin hearing." Yoren tried to rise. The breastplate pulled him lower. Saren heard the sound then. Not crushing, not breaking, but measuring. The armor was not killing him. It was forcing his body into the shape his record deserved. Maddox lowered the strip. A blackened line had opened across his palm where the hidden crease had been. The burn matched the fold exactly. Saren saw it and felt no satisfaction. Only proof. Joran dragged in a breath through clenched teeth. "Majesty," he said. "End this now. Read no more. The witnesses are not here. The army waits. Let me carry the charge. And after the border holds, question what you like." Saren turned to the fallen command plate on the scale. Luthen Mar's name still burned there. Her father's margin burned in Maddox's hand. 2 dead men. 1 living captain on his knee. "Not enough?" "No," she said. Joran's head jerked toward her. "You do not get to borrow Dawn again." She crossed to Maddox and did not take the strip from him. Instead, she touched the edge of the fold with 2 burned fingers. The moon silver opened another hair's breadth. There was a mark under the crease. Not a name. A small angled press, like the bite of a private armor tool. Saren's breath caught. Maddox saw it. "What is that?" The fold was not made by a clerk. Yoren's armor shuddered. Saren looked across the vault at the captain bent beneath his own rank. It was made by someone with access to the armorer's private seal tongs. Outside, the 3rd dawn horn began to rise, and every armorer in the vault turned toward Joran. A pair of seal tongs slipped from an old armorer's belt and struck the stone. The sound was small compared to the weight of armor, small compared to dawn horns and royal orders, but every man in the war armor vault heard it. The tongs bounced once, their narrow jaws flashing with a private mark cut into the hinge. A slanted bite, sharp and uneven. The same bite hidden beneath Oren Pike's burial margin. Joran's head turned before anyone accused him. That was his mistake. Saren saw the motion. So did Maddox. The old armorer went pale. "Majesty, those are mine." Joran forced a laugh through his teeth. He was still on one knee, his armor holding him there with patient cruelty. "Then your guild has questions to answer." The armorer's mouth opened, but no words came. Joran seized the silence. A forged fold, a forged margin, and now a guild tool conveniently dropped at the girl's feet. "How long has she been in your rooms, Master Pell? How many records did she touch before she turned grief into accusation?" Saren stepped between the old armorer and Joran. The motion surprised the room. They had expected her to defend herself. She defended the man who had just become useful to her enemy. "No," she said. Joran's eyes narrowed. "No? You do not get another substitute." His gauntlet scraped against the floor as he tried to rise. The breastplate dragged him back down. Saren picked up the seal tongs, careful not to let the jaws close. The metal smelled of cold rain and old oil. Not guilt. Use. A tool could mark truth or hide it. The hand decided. She held the tongs toward Maddox. "Ask when these were last taken from the guild wall." Master Pell swallowed. 3 nights ago. Jorn Bakel. Leah? Maddox's voice cut him flat. "Answer her?" The old armorer looked not at Joran, but at Saren, as if he had only now remembered what she was allowed to ask. 3 nights ago, he repeated. "By command request." "Whose?" Saren asked. His face tightened. Joran smiled again, wounded but sharp. "Careful, Pell. False testimony before war is a hanging matter." Maddox moved 1 step toward the old man. Not gentle, not warm. A king placing his shadow where fear had been standing. No one hangs before truth is weighed. Saren looked at him once. The sentence should have been hers. Perhaps that was why it landed so hard. Maddox was not forgiven, but he was beginning to speak where silence had done harm. Master Pell drew a shaking breath. The request carried Captain Rusk's authority. Joran's armor groaned. Not enough to crush him. Enough to remind everyone it was listening. Joran snarled. "I requested repair tools. Campaign plates require emergency adjustment, not burial folds, Saren said. He turned on her. And what are you exactly to decide what burial law permits? A servant with chalk? A grieving daughter who learned numbers from old men and now mistakes herself for judgment? The words struck the old wound cleanly because they had been sharpened by years of use. Saren felt every eye return to her station, her sleeves, the dust under her nails. Men would accept truth faster from a sword than from a woman holding a ledger. She walked back into the pale arch of the moon-weighing room, the chains stilled above her, then lowered. One silver hook opened before her face. A murmur moved through the vault. Saren lifted her burned hand and placed it beneath the hook. Maddox started forward. Saren. She did not look at him. Do not stop the witness, you ordered opened. The hook touched her palm. Moonlight ran through the ink, through the burn, through the torn fibers of hidden paper still clinging to her skin. The black weighing stone split wider. From inside it rose a flat piece of old silver, no larger than a nameplate, dark with age and edged in wolf script. Saren took it. Her hand shook only once. Joran stared, as if the dead had climbed out of the stone behind her. Maddox's voice was low. What is that? Saren read the first line, though she already knew it. Her father had taught her the words before she could lift a ledger. Moon weighing room appointment record. The old armorer closed his eyes. Saren read on. Upon death or silencing of the prior armor, weight witness, authority passes to the hand trained to preserve contested weight. Joran's face lost color. Saren lifted her gaze. My father was not only rear guard command. He was the last lawful armor, weight witness. The room shifted around her. She was not servant now, not in the way they had meant it. Not less. Maddox looked at the silver nameplate as if every report he had ignored had grown teeth. And you? Saren turned the plate. Her own name waited on the underside, scratched not by court hand, but by oath point. Saren Pike. Trained hand. Provisional witness until margin hearing. I was never weighing armor by permission, she said. I was weighing it by succession. The words entered the vault like law returning to its body. Several trapped warriors stopped struggling. The captain, still standing, looked down, not in reverence yet, but in fear. Fear was a beginning. Joran whispered, Provisional. Saren heard the trap. So did Maddox. Too late. Joran forced his knee up half an inch against the weight. Provisional authority expires if the witness fails to present before a full war council. Saren's fingers tightened on the plate. Joran smiled. And I closed the room before she could present. The armor on his chest shuddered. But his smile widened because the law had given him another knife. Maddox turned on him. You used my order to prevent her authority from being recognized. I protected the army from an unconfirmed witness, Joran said. As you commanded. Saren stepped out from under the hook. No, she said. You protected yourself from a hearing. She placed the appointment plate onto the moon scale, beside Luthen Mar's command plate. Both pieces of silver lit white. The black stone answered with a voice. Older than the vault. Older than the king. Older than war pride. Provisional witness may demand one immediate margin hearing before dawn command. The warriors went still. Maddox looked at Saren, and this time the recognition was public. What do you demand? He asked. Saren turned toward Joran. The armorer's wall, she said. Every private seal, tool. Every command plate he adjusted, and every margin folded under royal seal. Joran's eyes went to the eastern racks, not to his armor, to the sealed repair chest behind them. Saren saw it. The moon chain rang once. Maddox did not wait. Open the repair chest, he ordered. Joran's smile disappeared. No, he said. Too late. The chest locks snapped by themselves. Inside, beneath black cloth and spare buckles, lay a stack of folded burial margins waiting to be burned. The emergency war bell rang without a hand. One hard note split the vault, not loud enough to send the army marching, but old enough to wake the law carved above every armor rack. Red moonlight bled through the wolf script. The trapped warriors lifted their heads. The standing captains turned at once toward the eastern passage, where war drums answered from beyond the stone. Joran smiled from one knee. Saren understood too late. He had not needed to reach the bell rope. He had needed the repair chest opened. The lock had been tied to crisis law. A red spark ran along the black cloth inside the chest. The stack of hidden burial margins curled, as if breathing in fire. Not common flame. Warfire, the kind used to destroy false maps before an enemy could read them. The kind that left no ash useful enough to testify. Master Pell cried out and lunged forward. Saren caught his sleeve. "Don't touch it. The margins will eat your hands before they save themselves." Joran's voice rose over the bell's dying vibration. Under crisis law, any unverified document found in a war repair chest becomes enemy contamination. The chest opened. The bell answered. "Burn it clean." Maddox's face went still. Saren saw the fury in him, but fury did not matter if law had already been weaponized. Joran had built his trap with the same materials kings trusted. Locks, seals, timing, and fear. The red flame crawled closer to the first folded strip. Saren stepped toward the chest. Maddox moved with her. No, she did not stop. If they burn, he wins. If you touch warfire, it will take the hand. Then it should have chosen a less useful hand to threaten. His jaw tightened. Saren. That was the first time he said her name without title or suspicion. She hated that she noticed. Joran laughed through clenched teeth. Let her. If the provisional witness destroys herself touching contaminated evidence, the army may yet leave before dawn. Saren looked at him. You prepared this. I prepared for sabotage. You prepared for discovery. The red flame reached the first margin. Saren did not grab the stack. She reached under it. Joran's smile faltered. There was always something beneath what powerful men wanted burned. Weight taught that. Fire went upward. Fear looked at the visible thing. Truth hid where hands did not want to search. Her fingers closed around a narrow iron pin beneath the margins. Pain struck instantly. Not heat. A command. Drop. Kneel. Confess. Burn. Saren bit the inside of her cheek and pulled. The pin came free. Every red flame in the chest went black, then stopped moving. The vault held its breath. Saren lifted the pin. It was no longer than her smallest finger, stamped with the same slanted bite from the armorer's private seal tongs. Maddox stared at it. What is that? Master Pell whispered. A false start pin. It makes a repair chest answer, as if enemy tampering opened it. Joran tried to rise. His armor dragged him down again. Saren turned the pin between burned fingers. So, the chest was not contaminated. It was rigged to burn when opened under witness demand. Maddox looked at Joran. You set warfire inside my armor vault. I set defense against forged evidence. You set fire to burial law. The words landed harder, because Maddox said them in front of every warrior who had trusted Joran's command. Joran changed tactics at once. He bowed his head, making himself look burdened rather than cornered. Majesty, I will accept censure for the chest, but not from her. Provisional authority does not survive self-interest. She is the daughter of a contested dead man. She has touched the evidence. She has named her own blood. Remove her from the hearing, and I will submit to royal review after the march. There it was. Not denial. Isolation. Saren felt the trap close in a cleaner shape. If she stayed, she was biased. If she left, the margins burned later. If Maddox defended her too warmly, a captain pinned near the table rasped, He has a point. Blood should not weigh blood. Another said nothing, but his eyes went to Saren's burned hand. Maddox's shadow deepened again. Saren spoke before he could. "Blood should not weigh blood," she said. "Correct." Jorn blinked. She stepped back from the chest and held out the false start pin. "That is why I will not weigh Oren Pike's margin next." Maddox turned toward her. Saren pointed to the moon scale, where Luthen Mar's name still burned on the first command plate. "We begin with Luthen Mar. No blood of mine. No claim through my family. Read his burial margin. Call his witness. Weigh the officer who took his breach command." Joran's face hardened. Saren's voice sharpened. "Unless Captain Rusk is only comfortable challenging dead men whose daughters stand alone." The younger warrior who had called Luthen Mar his uncle lifted his head. "My mother keeps his death cord," he said hoarsely. "She signed the breach witness." Joran snapped. "You will not speak out of rank." Maddox did not look away from the pinned man. "His rank is witness kin." The vault shifted again. Not toward Saren, toward the dead. That was safer. Stronger. Harder for Joran to stain with her grief. Maddox turned to the record clerk. "Luthen Mar's margin first." The clerk's hands shook as he lifted the top folded strip from the chest. The black flame did not move now. Without the false start pin, the warfire had no command. Saren kept her burned hand closed around the pin. Joran watched it too closely. Maddox saw that. "What else does the pin open?" he asked. Master Pell went gray. Saren looked at him. "Answer." The old armorer swallowed. "Not open, Majesty." Outside, the third dawn horn faded into the first roll of marching drums. Master Pell's voice broke. "A false start pin can also close a command plate before the true wearer ever touches it." Joran's armor gave one violent groan. Saren turned slowly toward the eastern racks. "Then he did not only steal dead honors," she said. "He locked living men out before they could claim their own." The younger warrior, pinned beneath his breastplate, tore a gray cord from around his throat. It came away with skin. He did not seem to feel it. He dragged his arm across the floor, inch by inch, until the cord lay in the open moonlight between the fallen command plate and Saren's boots. "My mother gave me this," he said. "Luthen Mar's death cord. She kept it because no one would take his name into command record." Joran laughed without humor. "A family token is not a battlefield witness." The cord answered before Saren could. Its knots loosened by themselves. 1, 2, 3. Each knot opened into a thin line of white light, and the vault filled with the smell of wet iron and pine smoke. The first line crossed the moon scale and touched Luthen's burning name. The second crossed the black stone table. The third reached toward the eastern racks, where a row of living command plates still hung untouched. One plate shuddered. Not Joran's. Not the fallen officer's. A plain captain's plate near the back of the rack, duller than the rest, almost hidden behind polished false rank. Saren turned toward it. "That one." The young warrior's voice broke. "That was my uncle's field second. He should have carried breach command after Luthen died." The plain plate struck the floor. No one touched it. It did not crawl to the scale. It did not rise. It simply fell flat, and its left seam opened like a wound. Inside was an empty clasp. Master Pell made a sound low in his throat. The claim lock was removed. Maddox's eyes cut to Joran. Joran was ready. "Or never fitted," he said. "Many field plates are incomplete before final assignment." Saren stepped toward the plain plate, but 2 royal guards crossed in front of her. Not Joran's men, Maddox's. The movement cut through her more sharply than insult. Maddox turned. "Stand aside." The older guard did not move. His face was pale. "Majesty, crisis law has engaged." Joran lowered his head, hiding his smile too late. The red script above the armor racks brightened. War drums rolled beyond the vault in a steady command rhythm. "Not warning now, muster." The guard swallowed. When death cord testimony triggers disputed command during active deployment, the provisional witness must be removed from direct handling until full council confirms authority. Saren went cold. Joran had not only hidden evidence, he had built a maze where each proof she opened became a reason to take her hands away from the next one. Maddox's voice lowered. Who invoked that clause? The guard's gaze dropped. Joran answered. The law invoked itself, as law does when grief overreaches. Saren looked at the pale arch of the moonweighing room. The moon chain swayed once, as if they wanted to reach for her but could not cross the command script burning red across the floor. She understood. The room had recognized her. War law had caged her. A captain, still pinned under armor, lifted his head. If she is removed, will the honest plates release? Joran spoke before anyone else. Yes. The army can march under temporary command while the council reviews her claims. Temporary false command, Saren said. Temporary survival. The phrase moved through the trapped men like bread, thrown to the hungry. Maddox heard it too. His jaw tightened. Every heartbeat dragged him closer to the choice Joran wanted. Save the Eastern March now, or hold the vault for dead men who could not bleed again. Saren forced herself to look at him. Do not make me ask twice, she said. His eyes sharpened. Ask what? The same thing my father's margin asked. Her voice stayed level, though her throat felt raw. Read before you seal. Something flickered across his face. Pain. Shame. Recognition. Then the eastern passage doors opened. A marshal in frost-stained riding leather strode in, breath white, hair wet with snow. Majesty. The eastern packs are assembled. If command plates are not released by the final horn, the allied alphas will march under their own banners. Joran looked up at the ceiling as if thanking the moon. The marshal continued. They're already calling this vault delay treason. Every warrior heard it. Saren felt the room tilt away from her. Not because the truth had weakened, because fear had found a louder clock. Maddox turned toward the marshal. Who told them the vault was delaying release? The marshal hesitated. Joran's armor groaned, but he smiled through it. Saren answered for him. Someone who knew the word treason would reach you before the witnesses did. Joran's eyes met hers, and for the first time he did not bother pretending she was foolish. Maddox took one step toward the red war script. The moon chain rang once. Warning. If he broke crisis law openly, the allied packs could claim he had abandoned battle authority. If he obeyed it, Saren would be removed before the margins were heard. Either way, Joran had made the king's crown heavier than any armor in the vault. Maddox looked at the guards blocking Saren. By crisis law, he said, each word carved from restraint. The provisional witness cannot handle disputed armor. Joran's smile widened. Saren did not move. Maddox continued, until full council confirms authority. The guards reached for her. Saren stepped back before they could touch her. She would not be dragged twice in one night. The pale arch behind her darkened. The moon-weighing room closed its own inner gate. Not against Joran. Against her. The sound was quiet. Final. Saren stood outside the very room that had named her. Joran laughed then. Soft and exhausted and vicious. There. Even the room knows she is done. Maddox turned on him with murder in his eyes. But murder was not proof. And Saren knew it. She looked at the closed arch, at the red crisis law, at the death cord glowing on the floor where no hand could legally carry it forward. Then she saw what had not changed. The ink on her palm. The room had closed to her body, not to what she had already written. Saren folded her burned hand into a fist before Joran could see. Outside, the final dawn horn began. The ink inside Saren's fist warmed, not burned, woke. She felt each number she had pressed into her skin before the iron bar sealed her in. 3 stolen weights. 3 scraped lines. 3 proofs small enough for men like Joran to overlook because they had never feared a woman's palm. The guard stopped 2 steps from her. Take her out, Joran said. Crisis law removes the witness from direct handling. Saren opened her hand. Black ink glistened across her burned palm, but the numbers were no longer smudged. They had sharpened into moon script, thin and silver-edged, as if the hidden paper had dissolved into her blood and learned to write upward. Maddox saw it first. So did Joran. His face changed. Saren looked at the guards. "I am not touching disputed armor." The older guard hesitated. "I am touching what I wrote before the room was closed." The moon chain behind the sealed arch rang once. Not permission, recognition. Joran forced himself to laugh. "Ink tricks do not overrule crisis law." "No," Saren said. "Preserved weight does." She knelt before anyone could stop her and pressed her palm flat to the vault floor. Pain split through her hand. Stone drank the ink. Silver lines spread from beneath her fingers, not toward the moon weighing room, but away from it across the war armor vault, under boots, under pinned men, under Joran's kneeling armor, under the death cord still glowing in the open light. The red crisis script above the racks flickered. Master Pell whispered, "That is not a weighing." Saren held her palm down. "It is a witness copy." The silver lines reached Luthen Mar's command plate on the scale. His name flared once, then sent a thread of white light toward the plain captain's plate with the missing claim lock. The young warrior pinned beneath his breastplate began to shake. "That plate was meant for my uncle's field second." "Name him," Saren said. Joran snapped. "He is out of rank." Maddox's voice cut across him. "Name him." The young warrior swallowed blood. Taven Mar, field second to Luthen Mar, living at the breach when command was transferred. The plain plate lit. Across its inner seam, letters appeared. Claimlock removed before living witness review. A sound went through the vault. Not shock, not grief, but understanding beginning to hurt. Joran surged against his armor. A family witness. Still contaminated. Saren kept her hand on the floor, though the burn climbed up her wrist. Then we moved to the next uncontested weight. The silver lines split again, toward the second Eastern command plate. Orrin Pike's name shimmered under it, but Saren did not speak her father's name. She looked at Maddox. "Read the next plate." "Not mine." Maddox understood. He turned to the black stone table, where another command plate lay half-sunk, its polished, rank silver trembling. "Captain Vowell," he said. "Listed, Commander." Weight contested. The plate answered with a cold groan. A name rose beneath Vowell's rank mark. Sala Breck. Last order sealed during Red Ravine retreat. Saren had saved that name, because too many names at once could drown the dead. Now the room had chosen the time. No one spoke. Then, from the back of the vault, a scarred woman in a courier's gray cloak stepped forward. She had been standing among the supply witnesses, silent and dirt-streaked from travel. "I carried Sala Breck's last order," she said. Joran's eyes went wide. Saren saw it. This was the witness he had not known had arrived. The courier lifted her left hand. 2 fingers were missing. She ordered the retreat path held until the wounded crossed. Captain Vowell was not there. Captain Vowell, still pinned beneath his own borrowed breastplate, began to weep. Joran roared, "Enough!" He drove one gauntlet against the floor. A red line of crisis script shot from his armor toward Saren's wrist. It wrapped like a hot cord and tried to tear her hand away from the stone. Maddox moved. Saren shouted, "No!" He stopped. Every instinct in him had gone toward her. She saw it in the strain of his body, the wolf behind his eyes, the violence he held back by the throat. But if he pulled her free, Joran would call it royal interference. If the king saved the witness became his weapon instead of the law's. Saren pressed harder. The red cord burned into her skin. "This is not your hand to remove," she said to Joran. "You closed the room to my body. You forgot I had already carried the weight out." The floor answered. All silver witness lines struck Joran's armor at once. Not enough to kill. Enough to make him scream. His breastplate slammed him forward until both knees and both gauntlets were pinned to stone. The command collar tightened, forcing his head up so he had to face the vault he had ruled by fear. The red crisis script above the racks cracked down the middle. Maddox's voice came low. Record clerk. The clerk was crying now. He wrote anyway. Saren lifted her palm from the floor. Skin came with it. She swayed once. Maddox did not catch her. He stepped close enough to block Joran from reaching her, and far enough not to claim her victory. That restraint nearly broke her more than touch would have. The sealed arch behind her opened 1 inch. Inside, the moon scale lowered its left chain through the gap and dropped something at Saren's feet. A narrow, black key. Master Pell fell to his knees. The witness key. Joran's face twisted with panic. No. She is provisional. Saren picked up the key with her unburned hand. The chain rang once. Not provisional. The word passed through the vault without a voice. Saren looked at Maddox, then at Joran. Now, she said, we open every folded margin. The witness key entered the repair chest without a sound. That silence frightened the vault more than any bell. Saren turned the key once with her unburned hand. The black lock did not snap. It unfolded. Iron peeled back like wet bark, revealing not one hidden compartment, but 7 narrow shelves built into the chest walls, each packed with moon-silver strips folded so tightly they looked like dull knives. Joran stopped struggling. That was how Saren knew the truth had become larger than him. Maddox saw it too. His burned palm closed slowly around Oren Pike's strip, not to hide it, but to keep it from falling. Saren lifted the first shelf free. Record clerk, she said. The clerk raised his pen with shaking fingers. No summaries, Saren said. Names first, claims second. Objections last. Joran's voice scraped from the floor. You have no full counsel. Saren looked at the death cord. The courier, the old armorer, the pinned warriors, the king, and the armor listening from every wall. I have a war vault, full of the men who would have died under these plates. No one corrected her. She opened the first strip. Luthen Mar, she read. Breach weight transferred to Captain Vol. Witness objection. Livingfield second present. Claim lock removed before review. The young warrior pressed his forehead to stone and wept without sound. Captain Vol tried to speak, but his breastplate tightened until only a thin breath escaped. Saren opened the second strip. Sala Breck. Retreat command transferred under emergency absence. Witness objection. Order carried by courier before death. Named carrier present. The scarred courier stepped forward. I am present. Her voice was rough, but it did not break. The second command plate slid from the table and dropped beside her boots. It did not crush her. It bowed, edge first, as if returning to the hand that had carried its truth. Maddox's eyes darkened. Captain Vol was assigned breach and retreat both. Saren opened the third strip, instead of answering. Oren Pike. Rearguard weight transferred under emergency command authority. Witness objection unresolved. Breach command unfit until margin hearing. Joran laughed once, ragged. 3 old cases do not prove a chain. No, Saren said. She reached into the 7th shelf. This does. The strip she drew out was wider than the others, and blackened along the edges. Not a burial margin. A command assembly record. Master Pell whispered. That should be in the King's War Archive. Maddox stepped closer. Saren held the strip toward the moonlight. The letters resisted. Then the witness key warmed in her hand, and the script rose like something forced to breathe after drowning. Eastern Command Chain assembled from transferred honors. True field successors reassigned to supply routes. False rank officers cleared for dawn march. The vault went utterly still. Even the armor stopped groaning. Saren read the line again, because truth deserved more than one chance to enter the room. True field successors reassigned to supply routes. The young warrior lifted his head. The courier shut her eyes. Master Pell gripped the edge of the chest as if he would fall. Maddox turned toward Joran. You moved the living heirs of command out of the march. Joran's face had changed. The mask of honorable burden was gone. What remained was older and uglier. Contempt for men who thought courage should outrank control. I moved unstable elements away from command, he said. Grief-born seconds, border-bred loyalists, men who would hesitate because they remembered every dead name. They would have remembered the ground, Saren said. Joran looked at her. They would have questioned orders. The answer did what accusation could not. It confessed the shape of him. Maddox's royal wolf pushed through his shadow, vast and dark against the stone, jaws open without sound. Warriors bowed their heads instinctively, but Maddox did not move. Not yet. Rage was not judgment. He seemed to know that now. Saren unfolded the final edge of the assembly record. There, beneath the command list, was a route mark, not the eastern road approved by council. A lower ravine path. The scarred courier sucked in a breath. That ravine floods under thaw. It also runs below the old breach, said the young warrior. If commanders march there blind, the rear supply line breaks first. Maddox's voice was quiet. Why? Joran smiled with blood on his teeth. Because kings win wars with obedience. Not memorials. The breastplate slammed him flat. This time he screamed. The command collar forced his head sideways, cheek to stone, eyes on the eastern plates he had tried to send into war. But the armor still did not break him. It held him for judgment. Saren looked at Maddox. If those plates leave under false rank, 3 packs march into a ravine, under men who do not know which dead held which breach. Maddox nodded once. Then they do not leave. The marshal at the eastern passage stiffened. Majesty, Allied Alphas will call that refusal abdication of war command. Joran laughed against the floor. There, hear it. The crown cannot keep both truth and authority. Saren heard the room waiting. Maddox heard it too. He turned to the royal command plate, hanging beneath the wolf crest. The one no one had touched all night. Black silver, crown notches. The weight of every emergency seal his reign had ever used. Saren understood before he spoke. So did Horan. No, Joran whispered. Maddox reached up and took down his own plate. The vault inhaled. If my seal carried false command, the Alpha King said, then my command must be weighed before theirs. He placed the royal plate on the moon scale. For one terrible breath, nothing happened. Then the moon-weighing room rang every chain at once. The royal command plate sank only half an inch. That was worse than falling. Every stolen plate in the vault had crashed, dragged, screamed, or bent its wearer to stone. Maddox's plate did none of those things. It settled into the moon scale, with the terrible restraint of a judgment that did not need to shout. A line opened across the black silver. Emergency seal weight contested. Maddox did not look away. Joran, pinned beneath his own armor, laughed against the floor. Contested is not condemned. No, Saren said. It is called. The witness key warmed in her hand. She stepped to the moon scale, but not in front of Maddox. Beside him. Close enough to read the plate. Far enough that no one could mistake her hand for his mercy. The next line burned through. Royal seal used without full burial margin review. The vault went silent in a way Saren trusted. Not shock. Listening. Maddox's face did not change, but the burn in his palm reopened. Blood welled along the crown mark and fell onto the edge of his own plate. The moon scale drank it. Joran lifted his head as far as the command collar allowed. You see, the king admits fault. Remove him, and the army can march under surviving command. Maddox looked down at him. Surviving false command. Command that obeys. Obedience without truth is not command. Maddox turned to the record clerk. Write this. The clerk's pen hovered. Maddox spoke clearly, so every warrior pinned, standing, guilty, innocent, frightened, and ashamed could hear him. By my seal, Emergency transfers were approved without full burial margin review. By my negligence, the dead were outranked by convenience. By my order, the lawful witness was sealed inside the room, meant to protect her voice. Saren's throat tightened. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the words had weight. The royal plate sank another inch. Yorn's smile faltered. Maddox removed the crown from his head. A sound passed through the vault like winter through dry leaves. He set the dark silver crown beside the plate on the scale. Until every contested margin is read, every false command removed, and every true field successor restored, I suspend my emergency war authority. The marshal at the Eastern Passage went white. Majesty, send word to the Allied Alphas, Maddox said. The Eastern Army will not march under stolen rank. Any Alpha who calls truth delay may come weigh his own command plate before dawn. The royal plate stopped sinking. Then it rose. Not free, not light. Held. Saren understood the difference. The room had not absolved him. It had accepted the price. Joran saw it too, and panic tore through what remained of his dignity. You would risk the border for her? Maddox's eyes cut to him. No. I risked the border when I trusted you. The witness key turned cold in Saren's hand. She crossed to the repair chest and lifted the command assembly record one final time. Armor Captain Joran Rusk removed living claim locks, folded burial objections beneath royal review, reassigned true field successors to supply routes, and prepared a lower ravine march under false-ranked officers. Joran snarled. You cannot sentence me. I am not sentencing you. Saren looked to the moon scale. I am reading weight, the scale answered. Joran's armor dragged him upright. Not to honor him, to show him. Every stolen notch on his breastplate lit one by one. Luthen Mar, Sala Breck, Oren Pike. Others followed. Too many for one voice to hold without breaking. The names spread over black silver until Joran's rank disappeared beneath the dead. Then, the armor opened. All stolen notches tore free from his breastplate and struck the floor around Saren's boots. They did not glitter now. They looked small, cold, ashamed. Joran collapsed without them. Maddox turned to the guards. Strip him of armor command. Bind him for public margin trial before the War Council and the families of the named dead. Joran spat blood onto the stone. The border will remember this weakness. Saren looked at him. The border remembered before any of you did. The moon weighing room opened fully. Not 1 inch. Not as a cell. As a chamber receiving its witness. The black stone inside had changed. Across its surface, new script burned pale and steady. War rank law requires armor weight testimony before command authority. Master Pell sank to one knee first. Then the young warrior pinned beneath his honest but contested plate. Then the scarred courier. Then, slowly, the warriors whose armor had released them because the margins did not contest their names. Not all knelt from reverence. Some knelt because shame had finally become heavier than pride. Saren stepped over the fallen notches and entered the moon-weighing room. No one dragged her. No one barred the arch. She placed the witness key into the scale's center. The room returned it to her palm. Permanent witness authority confirmed. Maddox did not step inside until she looked at him. Even then, he stopped at the arch. I have no right to ask forgiveness tonight, he said. No, Saren said. The answer hurt him. He let it. That mattered more than any pretty vow. I will read every margin, he said. Not through a clerk, not through a captain, myself. And when the names accuse your seal again, then my seal will stand there and be accused. Saren looked at the crown still resting on the scale. And if the council demands you take back emergency authority before the hearing ends, Maddox's gaze held hers. Then they can weigh the crown and see if it still fits. For the first time, something almost gentle moved through the room. Not softness, relief with teeth. Saren turned from him to the vault. "Release the honest plates," she said. The moon scale rang once. Across the war armor vault, true armor lifted from innocent shoulders. Men dragged in breath. False plates remained heavy. Contested plates opened their seams, waiting for witnesses. At the eastern passage, messengers ran with new orders. True field successors recalled. Ravine route canceled. Command delayed until Waite spoke. Maddox stood behind Saren as the first dead name was written back into the war ledger. He did not touch her. He did not claim her. He stood where a king who had been wrong should stand behind the witness, in full view of the men who had laughed. Saren Pike dipped her pen into moon-black ink. On the first clean line, she wrote her father's name. Orrin Pike, Rear Guard Command. Objection honored. The war armor vault breathed out cold rain and silver. And this time, no man called the Waite disrespect.